Hey guys, Barrett here, coming at you today to present to you the Strike One from Arsenal Firearms. Okay, so right off the bat, I want to let you know that I've only really put about 500 rounds through this gun, but with the 500 rounds I put through it, I really like it. So I can't speak to the gun's reliability. In all honesty, I just wanted to be the first person on YouTube to really do kind of an overlook breakdown, first impressions of the Strike One from Arsenal. Now, of course, I'm very, very blessed in that this was sent to me by Salient. Salient kind of redid and kind of did their Guccifiedness to the Arsenal Strike One, and they're a little bit in partnership of the two companies, and I'm really excited for the things of the future. So I kind of want to give you my experiences, my first thoughts, and then take it from there. The first real thing that you're going to notice about this gun is that it looks completely and utterly different than a lot of guns that are out there. It's got an extremely low bore axis, meaning that the bore in relation to the hand sits lower into the shooter's hand, and that minimalizes on felt recoil. A couple other things you're going to notice is that you got a big old fat gap up here, kind of like a Glock 34 barrel, and I guess that's to reduce the weight of the slide so that as the slide moves back and forth, there's less kind of muzzle flip of downward pressure going down, and the shooter can keep it kind of stable. And in my experiences so far, this is a smooth shooter. The front sight picture when I shoot doesn't really go anywhere. That's my poor attempt at mimicking the recoil. Doesn't really go anywhere, but in fact, it stays relatively on target. And when I say relatively, I mean I don't have to put very much effort to keeping the gun on target. Another thing you'll notice is that the gun is actually fairly long. It's like a Glock 34 essentially is what it feels like when I shoot it. But a couple of other things you're going to notice is the trigger. And everybody talks about trying to get a 1911 trigger or 2011 trigger in a striker fired gun. And I honestly believe that Salient has done it. There's no real, I mean, you got to pre-travel obviously, but once you get there and you find that wall, watch this. There's no additional movement. There's no creep, there's no nothing, but it just breaks. So that's pretty cool. It helps me shoot really accurately. I noticed and loved about this is that the inward magazine well part has been kind of funneled out to accept magazines very, very quickly and seamlessly. How this feels going in, trying to kind of load it in really fast is like, if it feels like you got a competition mag well in there is what it feels like. It's very, very easy, very intuitive. Looking at the top side of the gun, one of the things that I love is how low profile this gun is. A lot of guns, their magazine releases, obviously this is not ambidextrous mag release or anything like that, but obviously when you look down at the gun at the very top, you'll see a lot of bulkiness to other firearms, right? But with this is very thin. This slide lock here is a lot like a Glock, but it feels like the competition kind of release, but it's very stiff. It's not like you're going to accidentally hit it or that you would hold it up and the slide would lock back when you're shooting. So we got a 17 round magazine for it. We're going to fire on this A-zone piece of steel at 25 yards. You know, right off the bat, this weapon's clear. Right off the bat, the gun is it communicates well to me. I'm not saying this is like a gun I'd carry, but the way that it shoots and the way that it feels, the recoil impulse, it just feels so darn good. You know what I mean? I mean, it just doesn't go anywhere. The gun stays in place. Now, a lot of guns, you've got to really cam out, right? You've got to really focus on driving and locking out those wrists. You've got to really focus on what your elbows are doing. But this gun right here is really just effortless. It's kind of like the SIG P320. It just shoots itself. No, but in all seriousness, I'm sure Siggy's gonna get that figured out real fast. This gun just works, man. I will say that I've not had any malfunctions, save for one. I had a stovepipe that was kind of weird looking. It was basically like the shell casing got locked in here. It was the last round of the magazine, but it was the first magazine that was shot through the gun. So maybe there's a break-in period or something along those lines, but do want to record that for you. So here we are. I'm shooting on a target that's about 45 yards away. It's a larger piece of steel, but I just kind of want to show you what the gun is doing in my hands. Gonna stay a little relaxed, so I'm not really trying to add a lot of pressure to the gun and really compensate for getting the gun back on target. I just want to show you how the gun kind of helps itself get back on target, if that makes any sense. Here we go. And the last one, we're gonna call that a nick. Let's go inside, let's break it down just in case I got any things that fly out so you can see how the gun's broken down, what it's made up of, all those things. Okay, now we're gonna do a simple field strip for you so you can see how to do it. Make sure you don't ruin your firearm. First, we're gonna make sure that there's no ammunition in the area, the chamber is clear, there is no magazine in the gun, and there's a pin right here. Very, very nice pin, and you'll see why. You press the pin, very effortless to do, really. Press this out. I said effortless. Pull this out till it locks out. Press the trigger. Make sure the gun's pointing safe direction when you do that. Might come up and get you. Slides right off. Look at how long these rails are. That's probably adding to the traction of the gun, what makes it feel so nice when I press the trigger. So you can see we got some cool things going on here, but we got the spring, and this is my least favorite part of the gun, how it's just kind of open like that. But this whole spring design is kind of cool. But getting this thing back in there is not kind of cool. So we're gonna put that down right there. This whole barrel nut comes off and the barrel comes out. One of the things to keep in mind though, what's cool about this is that when you go to put this back in, you're gonna be like, but it won't go back. There's only one way that the gun will allow you to put it back in. And is it that way? It is not that way. It goes that way. See? It will not allow you to screw up. And of course, that's where your retaining pin from your lower receiver punches into. This right here, we're gonna pull this sucker out. Bleep. And we're going to look at what's going on in the striker assembly area. What's cool about this striker assembly area is that the top sight, the back sight, is attached to the back plate. And to get it off, you must depress this, pushing it down, and this will slide off. When you do this, please make sure that you're keeping this thumb across here. You've got two things that are under spring retention. You've got the actual striker spring right here. That's going to come out, right? And then you have the striker and the little striker guide rod spring, this kind of guide rod that works in conjunction with the spring itself. So putting it all back together, I'm going to take this, the extractor spring is what I guess I want to call it. I don't know these terms. I don't know what's going on. I'm not a gunsmith. I'm going to press this. This is kind of a tricky part because you got to put this pin as you press. Yeah, it's not going to line up, is it? Push it as you press it in there. You're going to drop that pin right in there just like that. And it's going to go flush, right? So real quickly, I'm going to take this guide rod thing, baby, place it just like that. I'm going to take this firing pin, drop it in just like that, and it's going to rest just like this. See how they go together like perfect little Lego pieces? It's going to go right just like that, and then the spring is going to go just like that. Very, very simple. Now I'm set up to get everything back in there, so I'm going to take this guide rod spring. I'm going to push it all the way down in there to flush it out so that I can slide that butt plate on top. Just like that. I guess you could use more professional tools. Let's pray it gets in there. Boom. Now I gotta push that part down, ensuring that this doesn't fall out. Now when you go to press this, to put that back plate in the top sight, that slides back on, right? When you put that back in, push that down. Be careful, because when you push this down, if you have this upside down, this pin will fall out into your floor. You'll lose it for 30 minutes and hire your kids and your wife to try to help you find it. So I'm going to push this down right here, and as I push it down, this whole assembly is going to slide back on. This whole assembly is going to slide back on. This whole assembly is going to slide back on. This whole assembly is going to slide back on. Boom. Easy as pie. Looks sexy. Just going to go in together. Slide right back on these rails. Ooh, wow. You're going to see how the pins line up with the bottom. Very, very easy. Not anything difficult like the Glock is. And then boom, function test. Make sure the reset works. Everything works. Awesome. Okay, so is the Strike One worth the money? That is honestly going to be something that you have to answer yourself. Considering I didn't pay for it, I can't tell you what the investment feels like. However, I can tell you that comparing this gun to other guns that are around that same price range of $22 to $26 to $3,000, $4,000, this gun is absolutely a contender as far as how much you're paying and what you're getting, if that makes any sense. Now, I cannot speak to the gun's reliability. I've only put 500 rounds through it, right? But I can speak to how it feels, how it shoots, how it feels in my hands when I go pew, 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 pew. The sights are very nice. Just the features, the stippling on this, Salient did a great job with that. Just everything about the gun works for me, and I really like it. Of course, I just wish it wasn't a huge 34 size, and it'd be an awesome everyday carry gun. If you have any questions, holler at your boy in the comments section below. Remember, like and subscribe, and make sure you turn on those post notifications for more. To see more, if you're interested in purchasing one, go to Hawk Arms, either on Instagram at Hawk Arms, HAWKARMS, words are hard. Right here, and look them up on their website, and they'll have one dropped in your FFL tomorrow. Again, thanks guys so much. It's been a pleasure sharing with you. God bless, hold fast, stay the course. I'm Barrett Fawbush.